Hello, class. I'm going to do a quick little video tutorial on the island. Um, I forgot to mention this Thursday. I wanted you to work on that island over the weekend so that you'd have that Tuesday, and then Tuesday we can finish off the kitchen. So here we go. I don't have the floor plan with me. It's at school, but I'm going to go by just what I remember the dimensions to be. But you can locate this off of the floor plan. So if you look at the floor plan, you can establish this point right here. And let's say it's about this long. And then you look at the depth of it. And let's say it comes out to right about here. So here's my footprint of the overall size. Look at the overall size of it. So here would be the footprint of the island. I find it helpful to when I'm doing this initial layout to use colored pencil so that I don't get confused, because you're going to be retracing this probably at least a couple times. Okay, then look at the elevation to get the height. Now, to get the height, you've got to go back to follow this, project back to the wall right here. Project back to the wall, and then use the wall to make your vertical measurements. You can't measure it out here. You're out in space. So project back to the wall, go up, I think it's 3 feet. Okay, there'd be the 3 feet. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky because you don't have guidelines up in this area. They're all back here. The edge of the island is going to follow the same or go to the same vanishing point that these lines go to. So it's going to go out to a vanishing point out here. So use your ruler. Okay, so here's the height right here, the 3 feet. Use your ruler and line it up with the lines that are out in here. So I'm at this point right here, the 3-foot mark, and rotate. So I put the pencil right on that mark. Rotate the ruler so that you find a line that would appear to go to the same vanishing point. Down like this, you can see we're right here. It's not going to the same vanishing point. These lines shouldn't cross. They should look almost parallel. In other words, what I'm seeing is it's right in between these two lines. See that would, if I extended these two lines and the line where my ruler is, they would end up at the vanishing point. So that's very important that you get that accurate and take the time to really line that up with the point so you don't end up like this, where the lines actually cross here. They don't meet here. They meet way out here someplace at a vanishing point. So I can just scribe that line across to establish that. Okay. So this line is up above the floor in space, projecting out from this back wall. Okay, then at this point, I can draw a vertical, and you've got the guide on the back wall to use to get your verticals. So that's going to go up to here. And then I can draw a vertical from this point on the floor plan or on the floor. And it lines up, it just happens to coincide with this line right here. So that gives me that vertical. Be very precise about this. And again, as you draw, don't make real dark lines. Keep it light, but that's why I like to use colored pencil. Okay, so from let's draw the vertical up from this point right here, and I'm gauging along the verticals that appear back here. And it looks like, you don't have to line it up. It's not going to line up necessarily with any one of these lines, but it'll follow that same direction. But it just happens to line up with this center line right here, with this corner line. Okay, now, so you've got the height of these 3 corners, and we don't need to necessarily do this back corner because you're not going to see that anyway. But now I need to lay in the top of the countertop. So you can see right here, you've got your guides on this wall. Use that. Okay, so it should appear equal in between these two lines right here. Up like that is wrong. If I continue this line, it would meet way out there somewhere. So I can draw that in, and it's going to intersect with that vertical. Same way with the projection from this point. You can see that would be wrong if it's like this. It's going to follow the same general direction as these two lines. Kind of gaze the line above and below it. And they're almost parallel, but they're not. Okay. And then this line from right here, here's my 4 points on the top of the countertop here, here, and here. And then the back one, I'm just going to go to the vanishing point again. Now here I can use the perspective lines on this wall. Again, you're looking at the two lines above and below it, and you want to arrive at a point that looks like it would be, halfway between, approximately halfway between, because that's the way it looks right here. See how it looks about halfway between? So gauge that same proportion. Okay, there's the box that contains the entire island. Now, look on the floor plan to get the dimension. There's an overhang on this countertop. So therefore, where the island touches the floor is actually back here. I think it's about a foot. So the island would actually touch the floor here. This line just represents the edge of the countertop. I think it's about a foot. Okay, so I can bring that straight up. If you can see that. So once you get to this point, now we need to add in the thickness of the countertop. So I'm just going to eyeball that. It should be about, about 2 inches. This would be too thin. Let me get in a little closer here. If I make it about like this, you can see here's the top of the countertop. That would be too thin. About right here. When it comes to this phase of a perspective, I just eyeball things, but you've got to be accurate. You don't want it to be too thick, like it looks like about a 6-inch slab. You can look at these. This is 12 inches. I suppose if you had to measure it, if I go back to the vertical wall back here, here's between here and here. Oops, you're not seeing that. Between here and here would be 6 inches. There's 3 inches. So if I project that out to a vanishing point, yeah, right about in here is 2 inches. And then project that back. Now that doesn't go to this point right here. It just follows the perspective lines. I'm looking back here from the bottom of the countertop, and I'm using these projection lines back here. And that's basically it. So then you can come in and kind of darken it a little bit. Now, this point here goes across the corresponding point. Here's where the island hits the floor. Project across. See that point right there. So I'll darken this all in so you can see it. And you've got my perspective to look at to kind of make sure you're getting it to look right. One little trick when you're using a ruler, instead of using 2 hands and doing this, and then getting it lined up, and then you hold the ruler and then you draw the line, that wastes a lot of time. Put your pencil on one of the points and then rotate the ruler. It's quicker. Bam, I got it. put the pencil right on the point, rotate, draw it in. Put the pencil right on the ruler, rotate the ruler so it lines up with the other point, draw it in. Okay. I think that should do it. Now, we're going to make a couple little changes to this. I'll let you guys work on the shelving that goes in here. I think you can figure that out. Just eyeball this. But make sure you use the perspective lines back in the grid. Don't just throw it on there. Usually, lines that are real close together, you can fake it by just making it parallel. That's kind of what I do. And then maybe add a little bit of convergence to it. But that's basically it. Okay, and then have that for Tuesday. And then all we have left is putting in the wall cabinets up here. And then we'll get some of those details in there, like on the range and on the refrigerator, that sort of stuff. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you Tuesday. Have this done for Tuesday. Oh, and then one last thing. I might as well do this right now. 2 stools. And a stool is about 1 foot in diameter, so you can just use the grid, make a box. I'm going to do this real quick. You know the thinking that goes behind this. I'm just going to make a box. You'll have to get the height back here on the back wall. So if I use this line right here, let's make it 2 feet tall. So there's 2 feet. 1, 2. Bring it over according to the perspective lines. There would be the height of that box at the stool. It's a round stool. Once you get this part of it right here, that's where you're going to. Now, I've got ellipse templates that will make it really easy. But for right now, just sketch in. Use your whole arm. Get a nice, smooth ellipse in there. You don't want an ellipse that looks like this. Remember where it touches on that box. And then you can just kind of sketch freehand. That's just to get a rough layout. But I've got ellipse templates that we can use. And then you can draw the legs will go down to these 4 corners, right? One there. Add some thickness to them. Let's just figure they're round like dowel rods. And then you're going to have a middle brace going around that place to put your feet. Just sketched in. Okay, that should do it. And then, like I said, I've got an ellipse template. When we do this, the final tracing. Okay, that should do it. All right, thanks for watching.